Hello and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the personalities, the leaders in this magical place in which we live. I am honored today to actually have Rich on the show. Rich, welcome.
Good to see you again.
Welcome back. I love our kind of State of the Unions. I wish we could actually have them more often, but you're such a busy guy. And I know that what's keeping you busy these days, more than you would like, is the whole issue about trash. So we're going to start our show kind of talking about the big elephant in the room of the trash.
Let's do it.
I don't want to call it a debacle, but it's gotten a little, it's gone in directions you were not expecting, correct?
That is absolutely true.
All right. Well, why don't we start with laying out and prefacing this with our current council is revisiting some things, but there was a plan passed by the former council that laid out some new, curbside pickup opportunities. So can we just talk about what that is? And then after we do that and lay that out, I'd love to then pivot to what has happened really since we thought we were going forward, and now there's clearly been some, I don't know what to call it, drama or some revisiting.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but let's lay it out for our viewers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody's viewpoint and perspective, this isn't a new initiative. This is an initiative that has been pursued by the council 3 times on my watch. And I know that's been talked about in town much longer than that. And I'm in my 10th year. So this has been going on for over a decade.
Yes, and I went on the website today to just kind of look, do a little more research. And absolutely, there are documents about, hey, like 10-year-old documents. We're looking at this. And so I was like, wow, it's actually hard to sift through. So, yeah, okay, so it's not new.
So it's not new. So,
right.
But this is the 3rd time at bat. And the previous council, and quite frankly, the council before the previous council, which was made up of mostly the same people, they directed staff in open session to pursue curbside pickup, an initiative of curbside pickup. And originally what they wanted us to do is develop an RFP, request for proposals for a hybrid waste management program where the original vision from the council was to utilize the transfer station for bulky waste, and then transition the entire town over to a curbside pickup program. Right. Fast forward a few months later, big meeting at the high school. People didn't want that. They wanted to keep the transfer station open as is.
For regular waste as well.
For regular waste.
Kind of like as is, what's happening
Nothing
now.
changed.
They're
They
like,
wanted
don't shut it.
Don't.
Okay.
It was never going to be shut down. It was just going to be used in a different way.
Okay.
However, the council decided, no, what we want to do is we want to keep the transfer station open as is, no changes, sign a new contract, which has been done, and go out with an RFP for curbside pickup for everybody else.
Right.
All right. So it was the council's vote, again, a few months later, so now we're up to May 2023, where the council voted to pursue an exclusive single hauler approach to curbside.
And that word exclusive is very, very important.
Very important.
Because this is what the council directed.
Correct.
Exclusive.
Correct.
And tell us what that means.
It
I mean, I think I know what that means, but let's shout it to the people in the back end
exactly.
here.
I mean,
Right.
I feel like President Clinton, let's define the word if or it. It's exclusive is exclusive. It means they are the only curbside hauler authorized in Portsmouth. I'll just read. Then we're directed to go out with the RFP. And
but you want to, let's just keep exclusive.
So,
the first opening paragraph of this RFP.
The RFP was very specific.
Will you read it?
And I'll point it out. And obviously it's many pages long, but the only, with regard to this concept, there's only 2 sentences that matter. The first 2 sentences of the RFP.
Tell us.
The town of Portsmouth is seeking proposals to enter into an exclusive contract for curbside collection of residential waste, recycling, yard waste, and bulky waste for all households not using the town transfer station. So everybody who's not using the transfer station, we're going to an exclusive contract to pick up your waste curbside.
Right.
That was it.
The town council directed that to the
They
staff.
directed that.
Yes, okay.
The following sentence, now if there's any doubt as to what that meant, it was followed up in the second sentence. The intent is to contract with a single hauler to furnish all labor, materials, and equipment and perform all work necessary and incidental to the collection and transport of residential refuse, recyclables, yard waste, and bulky waste.
Okay. That seems clear.
I think that's very clear. So the RFP was issued. The bid responses were brought forward to the council, and this is a year later. So in May 2022, May 22nd, 2023, these are our marching orders. We have a consultant. We look at how it's done throughout the country. Goes back and forth. We iron out the RFP. We issue the RFP. We bring the RFP bids back a year later on May 13th, 2024, and the council, their motion awards the contract to MTG Disposal. Okay.
And we know that is Mega.
And
around
that's
here.
MTG Mega Disposal, I think is their full name.
Yeah.
So now that's awarded in May of 2024. In that, the very first paragraph says this is going to be an exclusive contract. It's clarified in the addendum number 3 to the contract that there is going to be an ordinance passed to be able to enforce this. There were a number of issues that the council wanted us to address, not the least of which was the complaint that there are too many trucks on our roads, there's too many garbage trucks driving through our neighborhoods on every day of the week, and the environmental concern. This was very important to the council. So this is what is going to be addressed, or was intended to be addressed with this RFP and the ordinance.
This was part of that solution.
So this was,
and let me just clarify, the ordinance is necessary. So here's the RFP came back, we contracted
Correct.
with Mega, and now it's necessary to pass the ordinance.
Correct.
So
We
that
said that
everybody executes.
It was stated in the RFP, the addendum 3 to RFP, and the intent of the RFP, the contract was embedded in the RFP. It's on page 31, says contract. So everybody knew this going forward.
All right.
The ordinance was the last piece of the puzzle to do.
Like to operationalize and get people
And then,
signing up and everything. Got it.
Put a bow on it, move forward, order the bins, set the routes, get people signed up, and start the program July 1st, 2026.
25.
2025, yes.
You got a lot of dates in your head. No, that's I get it. Okay.
The council passed, they adopted an exclusive single hauler ordinance after a public hearing on November 12th. Then we're off to the races. We're running. We're ready to go. However, one of the councilors stated that they were voting for, when they voted, they made the statement in public that they were only voting yes to pass the ordinance so that they would be on the prevailing side, and in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, be able to bring this ordinance back to be consideration for a repeal. So voted for it so he could bring it back to repeal it.
So I don't understand that.
Well,
obviously, I haven't been watching
that
these
goes
meetings, so
into
I
the
don't get
whole controversy.
Okay, so maybe
that I think.
we table that. We'll get there. But so
Sure.
that's a very important piece of this timeline equation, though. That this move.
So now,
Okay.
How do we move forward? We have no idea what is going to happen in the following meetings. So that was on November 12th. The last meeting in November, the new council gets sworn in. The very first meeting in December, the council votes to hold a public hearing to discuss repealing the ordinance. Then we go into the Christmas break. We have our meeting in January. which we just had, where the council discussed it but did not take a vote. So now they voted last Monday that they'll have another meeting this coming Monday.
So we keep
to
pushing it
discuss
down.
Well, yeah, it's not getting solved, so
Okay.
it does keep
All
getting
right,
pushed out.
before we get into too many weeds about timeline, because I know that is part of the interesting thing that's taking up
Yes.
all sorts of time. Back to just this program, and I'd love in your own words, I know you have to do whatever the council says, so you're not the one making the decisions, but there are some big pros for having a single hauler, like have everybody come together from lowering prices, and it makes sense, like you said, from environmental. So about what price are we expecting? Like, can we talk about some of those details if they're known?
Sure, it's, I think it's about 456, something, 460. It's around that price is what
Okay.
we
Right.
anticipate the price
The
to the resident.
curbside
The curbside
service to be.
sticker price.
Okay.
That's what we anticipate the price to be. But you touched upon something, this is council direction, and there has been, let's call it the elephant in the room, obviously is trash, but there's two sub-elephants, if you will. There is the elephant that things happen behind people's backs. I just want to state categorically for the public, it's very disruptive to public discourse and to good governance to make statements in public that there are secret deals or there are things happening behind the scenes that are not being discussed in public. This is my 10th year. This is the third time this is coming before the council. We have been discussing this almost nonstop since I was hired. Never until November or December has there ever been an executive discussion about this topic. All the discussions have been in the open. There was a public survey in 2017.
So the new
There was a
council-
white paper. So it's not, and I understand why they're doing it. But what I want everybody to understand is it doesn't help the public discourse to sow a seed of distrust. There is no secret deal. Everything has been done in the public. I cannot help that somebody may feel that they have not been informed. We have a system of governance. It's been working for hundreds of years. There is an obligation on me as a citizen to keep myself informed about the issues I care most about. The staff, the councils, previous, have all worked very hard on this, and it is a difficult decision for them. Absolutely. But I would also state that there are 6,700 eligible households for this program. 2,100 use the transfer station. You have to assume that those 4,600 households, they're doing something else with their trash, and I would suspect that the vast majority of them are utilizing subscription service, which on the whole is much more expensive than the program that is being pursued by the town. Yes, we've heard that there are people, I pay less. There are, I will have to assume that there are going to be a few people that are paying slightly less than what we're going to offer this program. But the vast majority are going to pay more. As a matter of
I
fact,
think
Waste
about
Management
double.
just sent out
Yeah.
bills
Yeah.
last week. They've raised their prices. They're over $800.
Yeah, that's me.
Mega is almost $700. So it's just, so there's nothing secret going on there. The other thing that people are upset about is you're taking away my freedom of choice. I understand the argument. That is ingrained in our DNA as a society. All I can say is that we have vetted this through the council. This has been vetted in public. There is case law that says that the handling of trash is a municipal responsibility if they so choose. And there is case law both in the First Circuit Court of Appeals and
Across
in
the
the
country.
11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Florida, where this exact same issue has come before them, and they have determined that it is not a taking of commerce. It is not overstepping the bounds to establish an exclusive hauler program. It is what it is, and I get people. I get that people are very concerned about change, but there is another thing that has to be considered here. The council did vote to award the contract. The council did vote to pass an ordinance. There is a possibility that the town could, it's not even a possibility, the vendor has, through their attorney, issued a demand letter, which is public, it was on the last agenda, to the town stating that they feel that the town will be in breach of contract. So I wrote a memo to the council, which is also on the agenda from previous agendas, and again on Monday night, just reiterating that this is a very important decision and we need to tread carefully. If we're going to be sued, we need to understand what the implication is to the taxpayer in Portsmouth.
And it could be a lot of money.
It's a
we don't know how much.
It's a $6 million contract. The vehicles that they have ordered are over $2 million. The bins are another $1 million. So this adds up very quickly.
Right, and there is a chance that we're responsible for that in a lawsuit. That might happen if everything.
In their view, yes.
Right.
You know?
So let me recap here. It sounds like Mega is paying attention and got wind or realized that there's now discussions about retracting, or I don't know what the right word is, but
the repealing orders.
Repealing,
absolutely.
right. So then that prompted their legal team to reach out and say, not okay, and if this happens, then we might enter into
that is what they informed the council of.
Right.
And then,
so the council knows this.
Correct.
So as this new council decides if they're going to repeal or not, they have to be thinking about the financial consequences for our taxpayers.
And I think they are. I think this is why it's such a difficult decision for them. You know, we hear from them. They say in public that they're hearing from their constituents that they don't want this. I get it. And I fully understand. Every time there is a contentious issue in town, there are going to be people that don't want to move forward, and there's going to be people that do want to move forward.
And they're often very loud.
But we did do a survey. There has been input in the past. This has been an initiative that the town has desired to pursue for over a decade. So it should come as no surprise, especially after public discussion and open meetings, that this is something that was the desire of the council to pursue. That there's the other argument that, well, the council did something, they were a lame duck and they shouldn't have done it.
That doesn't make sense.
It truly does, and I think it's unfortunate that it's being framed that way, because the councils are sworn to do their duty. To the very last meeting, they're sworn to do their duty. There was a desire, there was an intent, it was discussed that there was going to be an ordinance brought forward. People are making the argument, well, why did it take so long? Well, it took so long because it took so long. But the reality is that when you look at the timeline, from the time that it was decided that we were going to move forward, we go right into passing the budget. The first meeting in July was canceled because there was no quorum. And then we had a number of meetings where there was not a full council. So on September 23rd, when there finally was a full council, that was when they passed a motion to hold a public hearing, knowing that, again, there were going to be a number of meetings where there was no full council. They decided to have that meeting on November 12th, and that's when they passed the ordinance.
Right.
So it wasn't like they waited until the very last meeting to pass the ordinance. They followed the process.
So now I think we're ready to pivot into that November meeting, where I think I'm not understanding what happened about a council person being on the prevailing side so that they could repeal. What is happening there?
Yeah, so in Robert's rules.
Yeah, school me up. I don't get it.
Without going into any nerdy detail, the bottom line is if you are on the prevailing side, you have the right to request that that issue be brought back for another
For
discussion.
a revisit.
For a revisit. And
Okay.
so this, using parliamentary procedure, this councillor decided that he saw that this ordinance was going to pass. He wanted to be on the prevailing side, obviously, so that he could bring this back when after new council was sworn in, and that's what he did.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's absolutely his right to do.
Absolutely.
But then what would have been the consequences of that?
The consequence is that, well, one, obviously, the relationship with the vendor is,
Is on the rocks now.
Yeah, well, at least on a working level, it's fine, but they now felt that they were maneuvered into a situation where they had to issue a demand letter to the town, which has been received to the council and it's in the open public domain, which is now something that we have to respond to. But then no decision was made, so we've been in this limbo status really since November, where we can't move forward. We have to do everything we can to protect the town. So stop spending money, don't order bins. It's difficult. How do you have meetings where you're discussing routes and initiating the PR campaign to get people to sign up to the program,
right,
so that we know where the routes are going to be and who we need to pick up from and where are we going to deliver bins to and what size bin do you want?
Right.
All those questions are held in abeyance until a decision is made.
Because we're supposed to start paying in July, right? Is that how that works?
We're supposed to initiate the program starting July 1st. But all the logistics have to be in place to do that.
Right.
I remember when I was retiring from NATO in Europe, Russia went into the Crimea. We see what the fallout is to this day. Working hours went to 12, 16 hours a day, but I'm getting ready to retire. And finally, my wife pulls me aside and she's like, "Rich, you got to focus on this. We need to give the movers a compass heading at least." And that's where we're at right now. We don't have. We're going to get to a point where we got to give somebody a compass heading and tell them which way to march, and we're at a fork in the road. The council, it's their decision. I'm not a wizard behind the curtain. I don't make these decisions. We're doing what was asked of us by the council repeatedly for 10 years. But a decision does have to be made so that we can implement the program, because that contract starts, if we move forward, July 1st. So whether we're picking up trash or not, we still got to pay the vendor.
So I'm getting nervous now as I listen, right? And I'm like, what happens if we keep kicking it down the can?
And I don't want people to feel nervous.
Okay.
We have. I've been at the upper echelons of leadership many, many decades now. I can tell you that we have a world-class staff. Our department heads are top-notch. We will move heaven and earth to do whatever it is the council desires, and we will protect the town whichever direction they want to go to, and we will do it to the utmost of our ability. And if the decision is made that we're going to move forward with the program, we will do everything we can to ensure that we're ready to go July 1st. If we're not going to move forward with the program, we will do everything we can to ensure that the town is protected to the best extent possible. That's where we're at right now, but a decision does need to be made.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. All right. So we don't have much more time left in this show. I don't know if you want to kind of wrap all this trash stuff in a bow, to the extent trash can be wrapped in a bow, or if you want to just take a deep breath and pivot to how this fits into a broader picture, because budget
we
is
talked
coming
about a lot
in.
of stuff with trash, and I think it really is in the council's hands. And nobody wants to lean over their ski tips. Let the council do what they were elected to do, and then we'll move forward. With regard to the budget, we had a good budget brief kickoff on Monday. The reality in the budget, this is going to be a tight budget year. State aid is essentially level funded, but when you say level funded, inflation from a year ago eats into that, so it's not really.
Your dollar doesn't
go as far. So we have to compensate for that. Revenues we anticipate are probably going to flatten out. There just isn't as much building as there has been previous. So we I've directed to the staff to the greatest extent possible, keep the overall budget growth to 1.5% or below. When I issued that guidance, we saw inflation coming down. Inflation is starting to tick back up again. I think the latest figure had it up near 3%. It's going to be a challenge. So the big ticket items.
Let's talk about that. Like, what do you see as the concerns?
We're going to level fund capital improvement. So whatever the bottom line was for capital improvement, we're going to prioritize and kind of rack and stack what it is that needs to be done so it fits into whatever we budgeted last year. Road paving, the state of Rhode Island DOT has decided that they're going to continue to help fund local road paving programs. We'll be able to leverage the dollars that we have programmed for that and get more road paving than we've actually budgeted for next year. So that's a good thing for us.
Good.
We're going to move forward with trying to the greatest extent possible budget for possible grant matches. So we'll continue to apply for grants to help us achieve some of the projects that need to be done, but use other sources of money. Do everything we can to support the completion of the senior center so we can get the seniors into their new senior center next fall.
That's so exciting. I can't wait.
Very good initiative. We do need to reapportion some of the office space in Town Hall. We'll do better with that. Very low cost. So we're going to be picking low-hanging fruit in the budget to keep everybody's tax rate as low as possible for the next budget cycle. We got our audit result in. We're doing very good. We had a $1.2 million surplus from last year, but the good part of that is it was driven by higher than expected revenues. The bad part of that is it's also driven by the fact that recruitment and retention is in the toilet, and when we're not paying people that we budgeted for, that's money in the budget that sits there.
And I know you've always said it's the staff, it's being able to pay the entire team of the town of Portsmouth, fair compensation.
Everybody knows I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan. Their mantra all year was everybody sits at the table, everybody eats. We adhere to that, doing the best we can to raise all boats. The bottom line is inflation was at historic levels for a couple years. We do have unions coming off contracts where they didn't ask for any more, but they went through COVID and inflation. They saw that their quality of life was eroded. We're going to address that in the next budget. The council voted on 2 contracts changes on Monday night. We're going to do everything we can to protect the work that we've done in hiring the best qualified people for the town of Portsmouth in this next budget.
Well, thank you so much for your leadership on this, and I guess we're all going to be watching as everything unfolds, Rich.
Sure.
I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Your show, really. So thanks. We'll see you next time.
See you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been Conley Zani and Rich Rayner on Portsmouth This Week. We'll see you next time.